Okay, can we get everybody down front? Let's make this personal, okay? Come closer, folks. Come on down so we can, come on down closer.
Bring it on down to the front.
Yeah, come on closer. Make this personal.
The Hammer only asks nicely once.
You guys want to come closer? No, you want to stay there, okay. Anyway, my name is Fred the Hammer Williamson. The reason why they call me the Hammer, I played 10 years of pro football. Played in 2 Super Bowls, Super Bowl I, Super Bowl IV for Kansas City Chiefs and the Oakland Raiders. I've made about 90 movies. I've directed about 40. I've written about 20. So, and the name of my company is Po' Boy Productions, which means that if you work for me, you get no money. But it's been a good career for me. I sell a brand, guys. I mean, I don't do comedy, I don't do funny. I'm a martial arts guy. I have 4 black belts: Taekwondo, Shotokan, and Kempo. The other one is mixed up with Bruce Lee and my own invention. I studied with Bruce Lee for a year in Hong Kong. I made a film called That Man Bolt at the same time that he made Enter the Dragon. So I stayed in Hong Kong and studied with Bruce Lee before coming and making the movies that I did. As a matter of fact, I made the first black James Bond movie that probably nobody saw. It was called That Man Bolt, made by Universal Studios. It was a pretty big picture. But they didn't want to make another one, so I said, okay, fine, I'll go make my own. So we got questions. I know we have questions. I got all the answers. Anything you want to know, just ask me. I don't care what it's about. You got a question?
Here you go. I'll give you the mic. That way we can get it recorded, too.
What would you say the benefits of practicing martial arts are?
Well, martial arts deals, what they teach you in Europe and what they teach you in the States is different. You pay $250 studying martial arts in the States, and they give you a uniform, and then you learn something called a kata, and you learn the gi. You don't really learn the spirit of it. When I was in Hong Kong studying martial arts, the first 6 months we sit on the floor with our legs crossed, listening to the sensei talk about the spirit, talk about where it came from, talk about the history of martial arts, so that when you really study it, you study from the inside out. In USA, after 6 months, you get a brown belt, you pay another $250, you get a yellow belt, you pay another $250, and you might get a black belt. So the spirit of martial arts is lost. It's about self-assurance. It's like baby birds falling out of a nest. They learn to fly because they think they can. They're not taught to fly, they fly because they think they can. So you can accomplish whatever you want to accomplish if you think you can do it. If you have any doubts about it, put them aside, because you can never accomplish anything with a doubt. So, yeah.
Here you go.
Just curious what your favorite picture was that you were in.
What's my favorite movie? Well, if you know the history of the Hammer, I have 3 rules. When I first got into Hollywood, I called a press conference and I said, I have 3 rules if I'm coming into this business, because I'm going to come into the business with the same reputation and same image that I had playing pro football. 1, you can't kill me in a movie. 2, I have to win all my fights in a movie. And 3, I get the girl at the end of the movie if I want her. So you got to do 2 out of 3 of that. If you ain't doing that, I'm not interested. You can't buy me. My integrity is not for sale. So, thusly and henceforth, every movie that I've ever done, I like, because 2 of those rules have been adhered to.
You get the girl only if you want her. That is a great rule. That's probably my favorite one out of all 3. You have the choice at the end.
But you know why? Because sometimes you have to bring them back. And sometimes they're not really fun to work with. So you either bring them back or kill them off right away. So
that's fair.
Yeah, that was my thinking anyway.
Questions?
Yeah, come on, more questions. Yeah. Got one there? Brother, you got one?
You do now.
You got a question?
You got a question.
The brother.
The Hammer said you have a question.
No, that ain't no brother. That's a brother right there.
Thought you pointed out.
That ain't no brother. That's a brother
That's
right
true.
there.
Ask the Hammer a question.
in some of your previous movies that you played in,
Yeah.
which one was the hardest one to deal with as far as the character?
Well, you know, as all my characters are pretty much the same. I sell a brand. You will never see me do a funny movie. I don't do comedy. All I do is fight, shoot, beat up the bad guy, and take him to jail. So I sell a brand. I'm like the black Clint Eastwood with martial arts, or Charles Bronson. Am I a good bad guy, or am I a bad good guy? I'll leave you to make that decision when I make a film. So that's how I answer that question. Yeah, got another one here?
Okay, so your 3 rules. Your stipulation was that at least 2 of those 3 rules had to be followed.
Right.
So I'm guessing that you have declined to appear in films that they would not grant that.
I probably decline to do three films a week from the majors because the majors just want me in their film to draw in the black market.
What would you say would be the most notable film that you have declined?
I wouldn't know because I don't ever get that far. You know, I read the script and I see the first 5 pages, I'm dead, right? You want to kill me and let Schwarzenegger avenge my death. Forget that. Kill Schwarzenegger, let me avenge his death. So there's a lot of movies that they call me all the time to do and I say no to for that particular reason. Because I have a fan base. You know, I have to live with what my fans like to see me do. If I lose a fight to somebody that's Stallone size, no matter how tough Stallone is, and I beat him up, I let him beat me up. I'm walking down the street, my brothers are gonna say, well, why you let that little guy beat you up, man? Why you let the little 5'8" guy beat you up, right? When I could take Stallone out in 5 seconds. But, you know, my fans would not allow that, and why should I?
Easy on him. He's not looking too good these days.
No, he's not looking good at all. He's swole up. He's got too many steroids, man.
Can you talk a bit about working with Bruce Lee?
There's only one Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee was real. He was not a...
He wasn't Jackie Chan.
I'm not done yet. He was not a film martial artist. The guy believed in the spirit of martial art, and that was probably his demise. When he did Enter the Dragon, he didn't pull his punches on a lot of guys that he hurt. And because he was a serious martial artist. And they told him, if you come back to Hong Kong, there's going to be a problem. The real story about Bruce Lee is when he came back to Hong Kong after a couple of years, he got into a fight with about several guys because they didn't respect him. He survived the fight. He got home and he had a dizzy spell and he had an aneurysm, which means he had a blood clot in the brain from the fight. And that's what killed Bruce Lee.
Questions? Sure, yeah. Here we go. Oh, you're fine.
Okay, let me ask you this. Would you be willing to stipulate which movie would you say that you've done that would be, I guess, caused the most strain, was the hardest on your body to film the action scenes in?
Which was the hardest? Probably all of them, man. I mean, I do my own stunts because they only got guys in Hollywood that are black that are 5'8", 5'10". They don't really have any really black stuntmen my size in Hollywood. So all the stunts and all the fights I do in the movie are mine. So if I get hurt, I can't afford to stop, can't afford to slow down, especially if I'm the producer and the director and the star and the actor, the whole thing. I've made a lot of movies in pain. Probably I made a film in Manila called, I forget what it was. Anyway, I had a fight on a roof and they didn't light it very well. So after I knocked out the guy, I was supposed to run off into the dark. And I was supposed to be stopped by the cameraman because they let me go so far and then they say cut. I didn't hear anybody say cut and I fell off the top of the building. I fell 3 stories, I bounced off a car. That's the only thing that saved me. I bounced off a car 3 stories down, came back in, kicked the cameraman's ass right there. Fired him on the spot after I kicked his ass. I survived it, but I was lucky that I fell on a car. He didn't say cut. I just kept going. You know, you're supposed to keep going until the director says cut. He didn't say cut.
Questions?
Yeah, here we got one right here.
Here we go. I'll come back to you.
All right, so which would you say you enjoy more, playing football or working on movies?
Football, I enjoy more because football is based on your talent. is based on your value to the team. You can't kiss butt and make a football team. You can kiss some butt and get a movie part. So the dedication is more stiffer and much more required being a professional athlete, because you're only as good as your talent. There are a lot of people in Hollywood that are not working that are really good, and a lot of people that are working that are not really good. You know, you can see some movies, you go, wow, how did you get that part? Sports is much more competitive on you, and that's where spirit comes in at.
Who do you think is the most impressive player in the NFL today?
Besides me? Oh. Dude, you know, I don't know. I mean, you got to go with quarterbacks. I mean, I like Brady. Brady is a winner. He's a true winner, and that's what you need in a team is a guy that you trust. You can be down 20-0, and you can still win the game 21-20.
Right.
In the last quarter. So Brady. I would start in with Brady.
All he does is win. That's all Tom Brady does is
But
win.
it spreads. If you have a winning attitude, it spreads.
Here we go.
From Dusk Till Dawn, how was it working with Quentin Tarantino?
If you know, well, you probably don't. My history with Quentin Tarantino. First of all, he let me write the part in the movie because he didn't really cast me in the movie in the beginning because he wanted me in the movie, but he didn't know how to put me in the movie. So he let me read the script, and I decided where I would come into the movie, where my fans would understand that when I come into the movie, it's time to kick some butt. So I picked the part when Juliette Lewis said all the bats were pounding on the titty twister bar outside, and she says, "I can't take it anymore." So he cut to me leaning against the wall with a cigar, strike a match, and then I say, "Sure you can." Now I know my fans gonna say, "All right, the Hammer's getting ready to take some people out." So he gave me that freedom to do that, but he steals from me. If you saw Inglourious Basterds, I did Inglourious Basterds in 1976. We sued Quentin for doing that. It cost him $1.5 million, and all he did was spell bastard with an E. Then he did the Django, which is about a slave who runs away from plantation and becomes a gunfighter in the West. I did that movie in 1972, except it was called The Legend of Charlie. I did it in 72, so he likes me, he steals from me, but he's seen every movie that I ever made, because back in the early days, he said he worked in a video store and he watched every movie that I ever made. So he likes me, I don't mind him. I mean, it's homage that he steals from me. I look at it as respect.
Is it true that he wanted you to play Sam Jackson's role in Pulp Fiction? I read that once.
Yes, he did. Because it was, I mean, what is Pulp Fiction? It's an old school movie, it's 1970s movies with stars. I mean, they did some things in Pulp Fiction that if we'd have done in the 70s, they would have laughed at us on the screen.
Right.
But he got away with it because he had stars in the film.
Questions? Oh, here we go.
In Black Caesar, what enabled you to be able to connect with the character? What in your own life enabled you to play that character so fully?
In Black Caesar was my interpretation of my respect to the films that they made in the 50s, which you probably don't remember if you've seen black and white television years ago. Stars like James Cagney, George Raft, Humphrey Bogart, all those names that nobody seems to care about anymore. They were bad guys, but they were glorified bad guys. They were bad guys that were good bad guys. They killed 10 people, didn't help a little old lady across the street, give the bum $5, buy a dozen roses for somebody. So even though he was that kind of guy, you liked him. So I wanted to create a character that had a negative image, but he was credible, that you liked him. I remember in the Sierra Madre when Humphrey Bogart had killed like 200 people and they chased him up in the mountains and they were shooting at him and he had a good hiding space. And his pet dog got loose and ran up the mountain to him, and he stood up to catch his dog and he got shot. And we all cried. But he had just killed 100 people. So it was my interpretation of trying to create a negative character that people would still like. So Edward G. Robinson did Little Caesar. He was like that. Okay?
Questions?
No más. Finito. No más Cristiano.
Oh, here we go. He's got one more.
Allora.
You said that you had your own independent production company, Po' Boy Productions. Is
Right.
that what it was called?
Po' Boy.
What? Well, it's kind of a layered question, but when did you found Po' Boy Productions, and what was the impetus? I mean, if any specific ones, that was the cause. Like, hey, I need to do it on my own. I need to do it DIY. And what would you suggest to the people who kind of in a similar position, want to do it DIY, want to do it themselves? Apart
Yeah.
from.
I got it.
Yeah.
I got it. I started my company in 1973. I created my own company because I wasn't getting the roles that I wanted. I wanted to be the hero. I didn't want it to be a black character all the time. I wanted to play a film that was interchangeable, not just a black actor doing a black part. I wanted to play parts that were interchangeable between white, Mexican, black, Puerto Rico, whatever. The character is more important than the color. But that wasn't happening in Hollywood back in the 60s and 70s, and it ain't really happening today. So I decided my first interest into Hollywood was when I stopped playing pro football. And I went full-time as an architect. That's my background. I'm an architectural engineer. So after 9 months, the walls started to close in on me, and I couldn't make this transition smoothly. So I decided I had to do something different. And one night I was watching television, and I saw Diane Carroll had a show called Julie. She was the first black actress to have a television series. And I noticed that each week, the guest star role was a new boyfriend. And I said, I'm better looking than any of those guys. I'm going to Hollywood and become Diane Carroll's boyfriend. So I did. I lied my way into Hollywood, talked them into giving me a screen test, and I was signed for 3 years as a boyfriend. But then, when I wanted to step out of that and come into the movie role, it wasn't working for me. I wasn't getting the roles that I wanted, so I turned down a lot of work. So I decided that I was going to form my own company, and I had a little recognition from Julia. So what I did was I started going to the film markets. I went to Cannes, I went to MIFA, I went to Berlin, which I still do now. I go to all the film markets, and I understood that they recognized who I was. And so I took contracts from my first film, which was Meeting Johnny Barrows. And I took the contracts, pre-sale contracts from the foreign buyers, brought it back to the bank. The bank loans you money against the contracts, and that's how you raise money to do your own films. It's a little harder to do now because you lose money when you do it, but at least you get some money. If the banks know that you need money, they charge you more. So if I take $100,000 worth of contracts to a bank, I come out with about $80,000 plus they charge me $20,000, 10%. But that's okay. That's all right. At least you got some money to do the thing that you want to do. And that's really the key. You want to do something that's creative to you. And if nobody likes it but you, that's good too. But somebody somewhere is going to like it. But that's how I started making my own films, was pre-sales, foreign market. Even today, my biggest market is foreign. You know why? Because in America, I'm a black actor. I'm a black action star. In Europe, I'm an action star. As long as they don't channel you and put you into a cave where they sell me as a black actor, here, over there, they sell me as an action star. It's a whole different criteria. I live in Rome 6 months out of the year. I've been living in Rome for 25 years. I have an ongoing character called Black Cobra. I do 2 a year in Rome. Like Eastwood, like Bronson, it's called Black Cobra. So.
Questions? No more? Let me do this one and this one. Here we go.
Yeah, getting back to Black Caesar and then the sequel to it, Hell Up in Harlem. What are your thoughts on Hell Up in Harlem? Because Black Caesar was solid all around, just really well written, really well acted, and Hell Up in Harlem kind of had it seemed like a sequel. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, the difference between Black Caesar and Hell Up in Harlem was Black Caesar had more input from me because I knew the kind of character that I was trying to portray. They did a hurry-up thing on Hell Up in Harlem because it looked like I died in Black Caesar in the vacant lot. That didn't go well with the fans, so they had to make another one right away. So the next one was Hell Up in Harlem. They brought my posse, picked me up out of the same vacant lot, and rushed me to Harlem Hospital. So when they was doing that, the guy that they took out of the vacant lot and rushed to the Harlem Hospital was some guy that they decided they wanted to double for me because I was in Rome making Inglourious Bastards. So by the time I came back, they had created this tacky story of Hell Up in Harlem. So I was the victim to Larry Cohen and his tacky story, but on the first one, I wrote it and I did what I wanted to do, and Larry Cohen was taking directions from me because I wasn't about to portray a character that I didn't believe in. Hell Up in Harlem was all over the place, but it still had good music. I mean, it still had James Brown doing the thing, so it was still a fairly decent movie, but it wasn't good as Black Caesar.
There you go.
As a director, do you prefer to work with fresh faces or seasoned talent?
I like both. You need seasoned talent to get your money back. Fresh talent are good listeners. And what makes a good director is being able to listen to people who have their own concept and ideas of how they want to present a character. And if you're a good director, that's a sign of a good director when he listens to his people that he's hired. But you still need somebody in the film to sell it. You can't do it all with no names. That doesn't work unless you're making one of these Mickey Mouse films that they're making now with these cameras that they're renting from Walmart for $10,000 movies. That's what's killing the independent business. A lot of these cheap films are being made by young guys who want to get into the business. If you got $10,000 to make a movie, save your $10,000. Put another $10,000 with it, and another $10,000. If you got $25,000, then you make not a movie, but you make a scene. You make something that you can take to a distributor or take to a producer and says, here's the kind of movie that I want to make. That's what to do with your $10,000, because the $10,000 and the $20,000 movie you make is only going to go to your friends. And that's the only people that's going to see it is your friends. So if you got that kind of money and you want to be a movie maker, make one real tremendous good scene and show your talent.
That's good advice. Here we go.
You mentioned one of the reasons you like football more is because no one can kiss ass to get to the top.
Right.
So, has anyone ever kissed ass with you for Po' Boy Productions? And if so, what happened?
All the time. All the time. But, again, everything is, you got to bring something to the table to get something. And it can't always be a pretty face or a pretty body, because that gets old after a while. You need talent. Talent is what sustains your credibility. I've been in the business 45 years. I've sustained 45 years only because I took control of what I do. And I got another 45 years left because I control what I do. If you don't want to hire me, that's okay. It's just fine. Just say it politely. And then I'll go hire my own self and I'll find money, because I like to make people money. If you make people money, they will always hire you. They will always use you. If you give them something, they'll give you something back. So you got to bring something to the table, even if it's just a brilliant idea, but make sure that everybody knows that it's your idea. And the best way to do that, if you have a screenplay, if you have something, you want somebody to read it, you can take a screenplay, put it in a brown envelope or brown folder, send it to the Writers Guild, and once you send it to the Writers Guild, it's registered under your name. So if somebody steals your idea, you have a record that you send it to the Writers Guild. That's free. That costs you nothing. If you got a good story, a good screenplay, put it in an envelope, send it to the Writers Guild in LA, and they'll file it away under your name. Okay?
Question? Anybody else have a question?
The brother.
Alrighty.
That brother.
Have you considered doing a movie here in Mississippi?
If I do a movie in Mississippi or Georgia or anywhere else, you have to find a story that fits the community. You can't bring a Western or a cowboy into Mississippi. So if I find a story that fits in Mississippi, I'm here. I prefer to shoot anywhere but Hollywood. Hollywood is the worst place to shoot. It's the most expensive. People don't help you. The community don't help you. If you shoot in somebody's house and you pay them $200 and you want to shoot somebody else's house down the street, and they say, well, you paid Mary $200 and their house is smaller than ours. Our house is bigger. We want $1,000 for our house. So that's how Hollywood functions. So that's why a lot of productions leave Hollywood and go to other places, because they don't get any help. Everybody's got their hand out in Hollywood.
Anybody else?
Yep, right here.
When it comes to whenever you write a story, what element do you start off with first? Is it character? What is the seed of a story that really gets you to really want to write it?
Well, for me, it's very easy because I have a fan base and I know what they like to see me do. So I create a story that's credible, a story that's believable. I'm getting ready to do one now called The Last Hitman. It stars me and Franco Nero. Franco Nero is a Italian star from back in the day. It's about me as a cop like Eastwood taking a witness to court, but he gets assassinated on the way to court. So now what happens is that the police department says, I'm getting old, I'm getting slow, I can't take care of my people anymore, so now I gotta go prove myself again. The guy that assassinated him was Franco Nero. I find out that the hitman came from Italy, so now I gotta go to Italy and find Franco Nero. Franco Nero's story is he's been hired by some people to make the hit, but when he gets back to Italy, they refuse to pay him. He says, we're not gonna pay you. You know, what are you gonna do? You're gonna call the police? Forget about it. You're old, forget about it. So now when I finally connect with him, I find out his story, so now we together go after the guys that hired him. But I say to him, when we do this and we finish it, I'm taking you back to the States. And he said, there's no way I'm going back to the States with you, so once we finish this, it's gonna be between me and you. So we keep that kind of story going, you know. I know the audience like to see that. It's unpredictable. You don't know really who's gonna win, because we got two heroes fighting each other. I don't do Tom Cruise stuff, man. I ain't hanging off the side of an airplane, because I know black people watching the movie, they go, oh man, come on, brother. You know, so my people, they want a little more credibility, man, so I gotta keep my feet on the ground, right? If I hang on a plane, I'm gonna fall off before it goes up in the air, you know, they're gonna say, oh yeah, that's real, dude, that's real. Tom Cruise is waving on the plane, man, you know, like, so no. My folks don't like that. Yeah.
Let's give it up for the Hammer.
Oh, no,
he's got another question, never mind.
When are you going to release that?
Oh, I gotta make it first, girl. Probably in the summer. In the summer when all the other movies are quite out. I got 2 movies coming out now. I got one called Checkpoint that's coming out. I got one coming out now. It's called Atomic Eden. Atomic Eden I shot in Berlin. It's about Hitler hid a secret atomic weapon in his bunker before his demise. All the bad guys are after this weapon. I'm hired by an independent source to beat the bad guys to this weapon. So I want you to know you're all safe. I got it.
Awesome. Anybody else? Going once, going twice? All right. Now let's give it up for the Hammer.
All right. Thank you.
Okie dokie. We're going to take a small break and we'll be back soon. We were supposed to hang out with our good, biggest friend, Theo Crane, in a moment, but don't believe we'll be doing that. So hang out here. We'll be back soon.